Picture this for a second. It's the absolute quietest hour of the night. The world outside is completely still, but inside your body, an incredibly complex, perfectly synchronized symphony is just getting started. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to completely decode the deep neuroscience behind our biological rhythms. Because, as it turns out, the architecture of rest isn't just about closing your eyes and hoping for the best. It's about a master pacemaker deep inside your brain that literally dictates how you feel, how you age, and quite frankly, how you experience every single moment of your waking life. But let's be real for a second and start with something so many of us deal with. Why do you wake up totally exhausted, even when you've supposedly logged a full 8 hours in bed? You smash the snooze button, that brain fog is just incredibly thick, and you literally feel like you're behind on your day before your feet even touch the floor. Listen, if you're dealing with this kind of chronic exhaustion and cognitive fatigue, I really want you to hear this right now. This is not a personal failure. Not at all. What you're experiencing is a profound biological mismatch between how your nervous system was designed to function and the hyper-stimulated modern environment you're living in. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the modern epidemic that's actually driving this exhaustion. In the neuroscience world, it's called social jet lag. Basically, it happens when your deeply wired biological internal clock is completely out of sync with your social and work schedule. Think of it like flying across multiple time zones every single weekend, but you're just sitting in your living room. The fallout from this is massive. It leads directly to emotional dysregulation, that relentless brain fog, and a chronic sleep debt that leaves your nervous system trapped in this constant, low-grade state of fight or flight stress.
To really grasp why this happens, we kind of need to throw out our old assumptions about the body. For the longest time, science assumed our physiological systems just passively reacted to stress, correcting themselves only after something knocked them off balance. But modern chronobiology has revealed something absolutely brilliant. It's called predictive homeostasis. Your body doesn't just sit around waiting to react. It is constantly anticipating the 24-hour cycle of the planet. It's predicting when the sun will rise, when the temperature will drop, and when food will be available. It is quite literally trying to see into the future, to prepare your metabolism and protect your brain.
And the maestro conducting this incredible predictive symphony, it's buried deep within your hypothalamus. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or just the SCN for short. This tiny, elegant cluster of cells is your brain's master pacemaker. It takes in light information directly from your eyes and uses it to orchestrate these massive physiological shifts. The SCN alone decides when you should be sharply focused and full of dopamine and when your system needs to power down for deep recovery. Everything, all your biological timing, flows from this one central clock. And this brilliantly illustrates how the SCN actually fits into the big picture of why we sleep, using what researchers call Borberle's two-process model. It's like a giant biological puzzle. On one side, you have process S. That's your homeostatic sleep drive. Think of it like a cellular hourglass. The longer you're awake, this chemical called adenosine builds up in your brain, creating intense sleep pressure. On the exact opposite side is process C, your circadian pacemaker, which is that alerting signal from the SCN we just talked about. These two systems are constantly dancing with each other, and when they fall out of sync, that's when your sleep architecture totally crumbles and burnout sets in. The way these two systems actually talk to the rest of your body is through a really delicate hormonal seesaw, the balance between cortisol and melatonin. Now, cortisol gets a bad rap, but it isn't just a stress hormone. It's actually our primary waking signal. Through the cortisol awakening response, it naturally spikes in the morning to give us drive, focus, and energy. But as the evening rolls around, that cortisol absolutely must drop. It has to clear the stage so the anabolic, restorative release of melatonin can happen at night. If this seesaw gets stuck, you're wired and tired, and your body literally can't transition from action to recovery. So how does that magical transition to recovery actually happen? It is honestly like watching a cinematic chain reaction right inside your nervous system. Step 1, the sun goes down and darkness falls. Step 2, specialized cells in your eyes called retinal ganglion cells sense that the light is fading and instantly ping the SCN. Step 3, the SCN fires a message down your spinal column to the superior cervical ganglion. And finally, step 4, this triggers a release of norepinephrine, which tells your pineal gland, hey, start making melatonin. So just the simple absence of light cascades into this incredibly profound neurological shift. But if we zoom in even closer, right down to the molecular level, we find the real hero of the story. Right at the final step of making that melatonin is a crucial piece of your DNA, the AANAT gene. In the chronobiology world, they actually call the enzyme this gene produces the timezyme, which is a pretty cool name, right? It's this beautifully regulated switch that turns on your nighttime melatonin production to protect your deep sleep.
It's quite literally the molecular bridge between the darkness in your bedroom and the physical restoration happening in your brain.
Now, what actually happens when we mess with this elegant system? I really want this number to land heavily for you, 26.5. Research shows that acute circadian misalignment, so say working just a single night shift or pulling a really late night, can delay your cortisol peak by 26.5 minutes. Now sure, half an hour doesn't sound like much, but biologically, it's a massive disruption to your body's central synchronizing signal. Chronic misalignment flattens out your entire cortisol curve over time, and that leads directly to severe autonomic stress, metabolic dysfunction, and immune suppression. You're basically throwing a huge wrench into your body's gears.
And unfortunately, this desynchrony really compounds as we age. Look at this biological reality, less than 5%. When we're young, that deep, physically restorative, slow-wave sleep makes up about 20% of our night. But by age 60, due to structural changes in the brain and the SCN naturally deteriorating, that number plummets to less than 5%. This dramatic loss of deep sleep architecture is exactly why older adults struggle with daytime fatigue. And it's exactly why protecting your circadian alignment today is an absolute non-negotiable longevity habit. So, all of this brings us to a really crucial personal question. Are you fighting your own natural biology? If you're constantly dealing with burnout, endless cognitive fatigue, or a nervous system that just feels frayed to the core, you have to ask yourself if you're forcing your genetically wired sleep patterns into a modern lifestyle box where they just don't belong. So let's figure out how to actually identify what your natural rhythm is. You might have heard of this before. Sleep researchers categorize our genetic circadian preferences into 4 chronotypes. You might be a bear, naturally waking up and winding down with the sun. Or maybe you're a lion, popping out of bed, highly alert, ready to crush the day before dawn. Or perhaps you're a wolf, the classic night owl who finds their deepest creative flow late into the evening. Or a dolphin, a light, restless sleeper with a super active mind who knows exactly what it's like to stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Figuring out your chronotype isn't just some fun internet personality test. It is a biological blueprint. When you align your most demanding work and your sleep window with your natural chronotype, you radically optimize your energy and finally let your nervous system regulate. And getting this timing right is so vital because, spoiler alert, your brain isn't the only organ keeping time. While the SCN is definitely the master pacemaker, you have peripheral clocks ticking away inside almost every cell in your body, in your liver, your muscles, and especially your gut. That cortisol rhythm we talked about acts like a central synchronizing signal, ensuring all these individual organs are playing the same sheet of music. When your sleep is misaligned, your gut and your liver essentially become jet-lagged. It completely uncouples your metabolism. Which leads us to an incredibly practical, neuroscience-backed tool for your daily life: circadian rhythm fasting, sometimes called time-restricted eating. See, because your digestive system has its own clock, eating a heavy meal late at night totally disrupts your body's natural cooling and restorative processes. But by shifting your food intake to earlier in the day, confining it to a window that actually matches up with daylight, you hit your body's metabolic prime time. You prevent those late-night digestive disruptions from destroying your sleep architecture, and you beautifully support that critical gut-brain connection. But of course, while food is a big input, light is the ultimate trigger. The cells in our eyes contain a light-sensitive pigment called melanopsin, and it is highly reactive to short-wave blue light, right around 480 nanometers, which, you guessed it, is exactly the wavelength blasting out of our phones and laptops. When we look at the phase response curve, we see that bright light in the morning is amazing. It sets us up for a high-energy day. But hitting those melanopsin receptors with a smartphone screen at 10 p.m., you are forcefully tricking your SCN into thinking it's high noon. It unnaturally delays your sleep onset and completely fractures your physical rest. Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual neuro-optimized 24-hour protocol for sustainable, healthy living. It flows like this. 1. Morning. Get outside as soon as you can for natural sunlight exposure to really anchor that healthy cortisol peak. 2. Afternoon. Give yourself a hard caffeine cutoff so that adenosine, that sleep pressure, can naturally build up. 3. Evening. Dim all your artificial overhead lights and turn off the screens to literally signal safety to your nervous system. And 4. Night. Your biological environment is now perfectly primed to maximize that deep, restorative melatonin production. To really lock this in and supercharge your recovery, we have to respect core sleep hygiene. Keep your bedroom cool and pitch black. This directly supports that time zone we talked about. Limit the screens a couple of hours before bed, for sure. Restrict alcohol and heavy meals late in the evening to keep those peripheral clocks in the gut and liver happy. And above all else, be consistent with your sleep and wake times. Consistency is the ultimate anchor for a stressed out, frayed nervous system. It is literally the definitive foundation for burnout recovery. Let's just take a breath here for a second. I love this profound insight from Dr. Russell Foster. He says all life on Earth has evolved under a rhythmically changing cycle of light and darkness. It's so true, right? We are not smartphones. We aren't machines that can just be powered on and off whenever work demands it. We are biological organisms, deeply tied to the ancient, turning rhythms of the planet. When we respect that rhythm, we unlock mental clarity, deep emotional resilience, and true physical restoration. But when we fight it, we fracture our health. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. What is the one single change you are going to make to your evening routine tonight to reclaim your biological rhythm? Maybe it's finally dimming those overhead lights, skipping the late night snack, or just keeping the phone out of the bedroom. Whatever it is, your brain's master pacemaker is waiting for you to give it the right signal. Give it the darkness it needs and just watch how it completely transforms your days.